Coach, hey, thanks for joining me today on this simple coach-to-coach interview, this 2025 season preview. Do appreciate you taking the time and to hop on and hopefully tell us some exciting things for the fall, since it's right around the corner, man.
Right around the corner. First, thanks for having me, as always. It's always good to be here and to talk to you. Right around the corner. It's one of those where it's in that lull now of there's like 6-7 weeks, and then all of a sudden it's going to be 6-7 days, and then they'll be on campus, and here we go.
When am I reporting?
August 14th, we need you on campus. We'll get you all the paperwork. We'll do the media day stuff.
Very good.
And early on the 15th, we'll get rolling.
I don't need to do the media day stuff. I'm good. I just the jerseys.
Send us a headshot. We'll AI it up. We'll get you in the jersey. ChatGPT does amazing things.
Yeah, that's amazing things these days.
We'll get you looking sharp in a common jersey.
Sounds good. All right, Coach. Hey, so purpose of today, I'm really curious about your fall. This is going to be year 2. Actually, it's year 2, but it is your first. You have your first full year to prepare for a season. So I'm just curious, where's your head at? What are you thinking, and what's your sense, your vibes for the upcoming season?
Yeah, no, it's nice for some consistency in a second year after making some earlier career moves, but getting to experience everything for the second time, and like you said, a first full year here at Capital in our program, to be able to see some of the roots that we've laid down in a lot of different aspects. We're just really excited to see those steps that we've taken and continue to see where they're going to take us forward. I think we did a lot through the spring with bringing in a couple of guys as transfers in the spring that have really helped reset kind of our competitive nature and our balance into how we want to do things. We ended off in what we think was a pretty solid way in the fall, considering how we started. And now we just want to start piecing those things and take another step forward into seeing really where this group matures and really where they lead themselves.
How many transfers did you have in the spring?
So you
mentioned this, I think, in the last time we spoke, that you were aiming to get some guys.
Yeah, so we were able to bring in 3 guys, 2 guys,
Oh, wow.
2 guys. They're all Columbus guys, so they're all coming home just with previous relationships that we had built through club and high school with these guys. 2 of them coming back from other universities. One is another unique circumstance. Started here at Capital, moved on, and is going to use his last year here back at Capital. So 3 guys coming in the spring, and they've been massive to us, not only as players, but just as people in the locker room. They're friends with all of these guys. They're leaders. They have the experience at their college levels and in their previous experiences that they've brought into here that are really able to click well, and it's really been able to push us forward.
Did you know these guys beforehand? These aren't like randomly selected out of the portal. Hey, look at this guy, come to Capital.
No, that's right. We don't have enough time as D3 soccer coaches to be able to just randomly, no one does. So don't let me just say it's us. But no, this is the benefit of where the changing landscape of college soccer is coming from, and college athletics in general. You recruit a guy, they don't end up with you, and that's it. You move on. The landscape's different, right? You hold on to relationships. These are all guys that we knew from coaching club around the area. All guys that we were glad to see, take the steps in their journey that they were happy for. But we always knew that if anything were to change, we'd welcome them into an environment. That's, I think, the way that things are going. And we're excited that it's able to impact us positively here at Capital. And we couldn't be more happy to have these guys. These are guys I coached as club kids at 16, 17, 18 years old. Now we get to see them at 20, 21, 22, a little bit more developed physically and mentally, emotionally. It's just something that's really exciting, right? Unfortunately, they're all off campus at home in their own environments, playing for the summer. I want them here. I want them back. I want to get going.
They'll be soon enough. I guess like we were saying, they'll be here soon enough. I'm curious because you mentioned it, that you just said that's sort of the result of the changes and all the craziness in the NCAA and Division I and the rosters and all that stuff, and you having these 3 transfers, it seemingly might be you're the beneficiary of those changes in that regard, and that they're coming to you. And is this the new way? Like, is this the new? Do you think this is going to be the new normal, especially for you guys? You're a university, so you have grad school. I know you have a law school,
Yep.
So you can bring in these guys who have 1 year left. You're in a hot area. I mean, Columbus, right? Like you
Yep.
can't go wrong with being in Columbus. So, I mean, is this in your thinking? Are you starting to say, hey, if we can nail down a couple of transfers every year and help you build, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I certainly get what you're saying. The cop out answer for me is I don't know. And I'll clarify. I'll say it, I guess, in that it's going to be, really just like every recruiting class and every circumstance is going to be a bit different. I think it's going to be if the situation best benefits the group as a whole. I think that's something that's going to be of interest to us. I don't think we want to get ourselves into a situation of it has to be transfers, it has to be internationals, it has to be first years. I think it's a blend of what we are able to find, a blend of what's going to mix in well with this group. Like I said, in the instance of some of these transfers that we brought in, it's guys that our collective group knows and has played with, has played against, and is really there. You said, is it the way? I'm going to catch myself before saying just absolutely yes, and saying there's a number of different ways, and that's why this job is fun, is all of us as peers could see it a million different ways and do it a million different ways. I think for us in our situation here at Capital, first years, because Ohio, Columbus, the surrounding area is always going to be great soccer. There's always going to be a home for there, but yeah, it's different. We've seen the benefit of some of these transfers. We've also seen the not so benefit of it. We've been fortunate enough to have some talent in the last couple of years. Jack Kasuji, Jacob Deaver now in this year, 2 guys that are going the other way, right? They spent their first 3 years here at Capital. They have an opportunity now to spend their last year elsewhere at a larger program or something that could help them with their professional pathway. And we're open to it. So I think we've got to be open to both ways, that if we bring a guy in and they're able to develop and move on because that's the way the landscape is today, then we're comfortable with it, and we're comfortable the other way. If guys start somewhere else and come in, it's less of, I think, a 4-year model now for us as much as it is just being adaptable, being flexible into it. And then the challenge really comes from whatever that group looks like. And I think some of my colleagues have said it. The biggest challenge is taking that group of young guys and putting them all on the same page.
Yeah.
So where those guys come from, that's going to continue to change. The goal then is to figure out wherever they're coming from, whatever their backgrounds are, whatever their entry to Capital might be, how do we put it together so that we're all going the same way?
Yeah. Can I ask you the dumb question? When you, in the spring, when you had these guys, is it in some respects easier to take the transfer and from a coaching perspective, and when they're on the field and asking them to do the things that you're expecting them to do, and sort of tactically, are they aware? Is it easier to work with those guys because they do maybe have a different experience, or is it the taking, I'll just say freshmen, although it's not because they already have a season under their belt. So is it? Yeah,
it can be. I think it's less about, if you're asking, is it a higher level of intelligence or IQ awareness, whatever words you want to associate. I think it's less of that, and it's more of just the connection and relationship. Knowing these guys, them knowing us as a coaching staff, and kind of what to expect. If I say something, that may be not as clear cut or cut and dry, this is what he means. If there's any ambiguity to something I said, there's going to be a relationship or a familiarity for some of these guys. Okay, this is what he's getting at. They're able to think a step or two ahead of, okay, Cory's hinting on something because he wants to explore this avenue.
Yeah.
So I think
And
it's
he's
less,
dealt with you before,
they've
right?
dealt
So he
with us
kind of
before.
knows your language, knows your yeah.
So I think it's not a dumb question. I think it can be a little bit easier, especially when you have the connection. Now, in instances where if we don't know them, right, we see them in the portal, we are able to
Yeah.
find ways, and we don't, then it might not be easier. It might be more difficult, right? And
Yeah.
it's the fun piece, because with experience comes habits, and sometimes if somebody
Yeah.
develops a habit, it's something you like, or it might be something you have to tweak or to break a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
So I think it's unique, and every kid that comes through the door, whether they're someone that's been in the program with us as a freshman, or that kid that's been through the first fall, or someone that comes in the spring that's been through 3 college years, it's a unique situation just based on those guys. And I think we've been fortunate over the last 9-12 months, between the last recruiting cycle and now this one that's coming in, to find some guys that are collectively really smart on and off the field, which makes us look smarter.
That's all you need, right? Like, hey, make me look smarter.
I'm not
Um,
a very smart guy, so if I can surround myself with a very smart
yeah,
coaching staff and a very smart group of players,
it,
I'll fake it
it
until I.
rubs off. It rubs off.
Yep.
I'm curious your thoughts on the OAC, John Carroll leaving, or the first year of John Carroll will not be a part of the OAC. Like, what do you think that means for the entire OAC? What do you think it, from your standpoint, for capital? Are you like, does your math change a little bit?
I think more of what I'm curious to see is really just observe the impact of their absence in the first year. I don't know. Yeah, I think Joe Bergen said it, right. Do we hate seeing John Carroll exit and knowing that there's a fixture every year that, oh no, we don't have to necessarily play them when, especially when they're peaked and got a lot of experience. That's not the worst thing in the world to see them go. But it's also going to be interesting because of what it does to the competitive levels within the
Yeah,
conference. I'm not so sure what it's going to do. I'm more just excited to kind of, as we go through it, just to kind of experience it. But I think it's going to make those 6 spots that much more competitive. Right? I think that for us, I don't think it necessarily changes any math. I think we're always going to be putting ourselves into that conversation as long as we take care of the things we have to take care of every day. But I think that it gives some of those teams that have been right on the fringe or struggling to get in, it gives them that much more of the motivation, or kind of the opportunity that it's there for them. It'll be interesting to not see them as one of the 6, whether it's as the
mm,
first 4 that are hosting. So what that dynamic looks like, and now kind of what a pecking order of who may be 1 to 4, who comes in at 5 and 6, it's going to change, obviously, not just because a team has come out, but a team that's always influencing what that order, what that mix looks
yeah,
like. Does that change? I'm just curious on all the detail. Does that change how we approach games against each other?
yeah,
Right? Does that approach how we go into an outlook of a week with a Wednesday,
yeah,
Saturday game? I don't know. I'm just really
yeah.
curious to find out.
That's I was saying this. They're not the only ones that moved, and now and then figuring out the NCAC and talking with Coach Bianco and um, the math does change. I just don't know what that equation looks like. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I think it's trench. I think it's going to be trench warfare, and it's just going to be like, well, what are we doing today? Like, how are we going to do this today?
yeah. The NCAC, the OAC. I'm biased. I grew up here. I'm
Yeah,
from here, right? The Northeast, the West, the country has great Division III soccer. I'm biased enough
yeah,
to be a Central Ohio guy to say that
mm,
that right here and in this state, and then in this region, when you think of some of the other NCAC schools, like it's such good soccer.
yeah,
It's such
yeah,
great coaching that you have to prepare yourself for. You have to
yeah,
prepare your entire program for every day. I think it's bad enough that we're heading into the OAC. So of course I scheduled more than half of the NCAC because I want to experience that too.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, what were you thinking? But
I don't get to play soccer anymore. I'm too old. My hips don't work.
Yeah.
I don't get to play it, so I want to be involved in it as exciting, as competitive as.
Yeah.
If people are going to watch these games, if people are going to pay money to come into these games, if people are going to take time out of their day to log into a live stream, they better have something that's going to keep their attention.
Mm-hmm.
We want to go find teams that are going to make us better. We want to go find a competition level that prepares us for what we think is the next step that we're ready to take. Now, of course, we open the season on a Friday, Sunday, home against Kenyon at John Carroll. That's going to tell us a whole lot about ourselves in about a 48-hour period.
Yeah.
Not just there, but it's also going to help us understand that the guys are at home in their environments right now, and they understand that's the weekend. That's the first thing that they'll really see. We did it because that's who's around us, and that's who's going to push us to be better.
Yeah. I tell this to everybody I basically talk to. I don't think you get anywhere by not playing those teams, right? You might have a successful season, however you're going to define a successful season, but unless you're going up against the best that you can get to, you don't necessarily get anywhere other than the feel good, right? Like you're not going to coast through. You're not going to. It doesn't work that way anymore, and I think it's too hyper competitive out there that you do have to cross paths with some of you do have to play Kenyon. If you're in Ohio, you do have to play Kenyon. You do have to face Ohio Wesleyan. You do have to do John Carroll, Denison. You have to play these teams because you can't ignore them.
Can't ignore them, and I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of these guys, coaches, and have some really good relationships that makes it worthwhile. But I'm more blessed, I think, to have a group of guys that want to go play these teams as well.
Yeah.
And this is it's no bulletin board material or anything like that. It's just the simple fact that all of these kids that we have here at Capital grew up playing against all of the guys that are at Denison and Ohio Wesleyan and Otterbein and Ohio Northern. They're their friends. They're the guys they played club with. They're the guys they played high school, district, regional, state title games against. And they want to play those teams. So when they're asking about schedules and we give them, they're making sure that some of those teams are in there because they're not shying away from it. They want to be a part of those games too.
That's awesome. Nothing worse than playing games that become, I don't want to say blowouts, but that they're not like within 45 minutes they're decided and you're not forced to play hard, right? Like there's nothing worse than that. When I played, it was the same thing. Like I didn't want to sit there. I wanted to be as challenged as possible.
The really cool thing is those don't exist anymore. Right?
Yeah. That's it.
Everyone's gotten so much better. Recruiting is so hard around here because everyone around here is good.
Yeah.
But that's why you do it. So there are no more games like that to begin with. And that's the really cool part of all of this is you've got to be ready to go. You've got to be locked in. You've got to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
But there's an excitement level that builds from that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? That's how iron sharpens iron. Those are not games. You might lose on the scoreboard, but those are big winner games, right? Like you learn so much about yourself and as a player and sort of where your program's at. You can benchmark, do all that kind of stuff. I gotta ask you, how close do you think you are? I just looked at your schedule last year. You had of your, I think it was nine losses. 7 of them were by 1 goal. And then you had 4 ties. How close?
I have no idea. That's a few things here, a few things there, and the fall looks so different. I can remember I can remember a week and a half into the season last year, and it was tie. I can remember texting a buddy and just saying, "I forget it. I'm just going to go to tie every game. Like let's just try to do that. That'll be a feat in itself." I think that we are closer. Obviously, I think we're closer than where we were at this point 12 months ago with
Right.
those experiences, with the additions we've had, with the health that we've got back from some guys. What I'm really curious about and what I want to see from us in a next step is exactly that. Those one goal games. What are some of the moments that change those games? And that's what we've really, as a staff, been starting to look into, right? Like Denison, 1-0 loss, dug in, 6 minutes left in the game, long throw, and we let a kid go on the back post by himself. Right?
Yeah.
Like those are those heartbreaking moments, but those are also those lessons where it's you can play a game for 89 minutes and 55 seconds, and 5 seconds you lose.
Yeah.
It's cool. How far away are we? How close are we? That's going to be dependent on these guys. I think they benefited greatly, the guys that went through those experiences from those hard moments. I think that it's given them the perspective that nothing is going to be given to them, that they aren't a favorite in situations they go into. So if anything, if we're as close as we want to be to where we want to be, it's because these guys are pushing themselves there.
Yeah.
Very little from us as coaches to have to say, hey, look back to those games. And that is as much as learn about ourselves, understand the commitment and devotion that it's going to take to change some of those things around. But I don't think it's a situation where we want to look at a schedule and go, yeah, if this is one change, then our record is, it's not the way to look at it, because our record is who we are.
Yeah.
Now we've just got to put ourselves back into those moments and see who we are.
Yeah. It's just, to me are the ones where I look at them like, there's something about those games to me that are like, those are character games, like if you only lose by a goal or you tie, maybe there's something about that game, or maybe in the journey as a soccer player, they're just not quite mentally ready. Like you said, they make a mistake. A 5-second mistake leads to a goal. Maybe, and I'm just always curious about that. What game, what game do you have circled on the calendar?
Yeah, you're gonna really do this one to me, man.
It can be multiples. It's okay.
I even went through thinking, man, what questions did he have? What to be prepared for on the hot. Let me just go with the easy one. It has nothing to do with any kind of set of circumstances other than it's going to be a Friday night in August at 7:30 here in Bexley when we play Kenyon. I am really looking forward to that. Opening a season, I'm trying to honestly think back. I'm not so sure as a college coach between Wesleyan, Muskingum here. I don't think I've ever started a season at home. Right, we did the Hope Calvin trip or elsewhere. We were at Bluffton to start the season last year. So just having a home game to start the season, having a Friday night home game in Bexley is going to be awesome. Whether that's opponent A or opponent Z is less of concern to me. Now, it's great that we've got a tremendous opponent and a guy like Travis coming in.
Yeah.
We're really excited about that, but it's more about our group. It's more about what excitement we're going to have build from right now to when they get on campus in August. We play a couple of preseason games and it starts to come together, and then all of a sudden it's here. The season's here. We're ready to go. So if it's circled because the excitement is just going to continue to build. There's no animosity, rivalry, anything like that, other than we're going to have some really talented soccer players on two sides of a field competing and challenging, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
It's a night game too.
7:30.
That's on to kick off your season, because usually there was the midday games, like the
Yep.
1 or 4, 1 or 4, 1 or 4s. Those are the times that you played, and you rarely got. And here you are opening the season with a night game. How cool is that?
Very, very excited about it. And, it's something that as we can get the kids back on campus, not just the student athletes, but the community, the campus community in general, it's something that we're going to try to build a lot of excitement towards. So, like I said, if you're not seeing it out of me, the excitement is continuing to build and build, just talking about it. And I have to then sit and wait.
That could be your home opener against Kenyon might be like the game of the week from all the home openers that I've seen. That might there's a few gangbusters, but that could be.
We're excited to start putting ourselves into situations where maybe something like that is the case, right?
Yeah.
And that's not something that this is me talking to you. This isn't us in a locker room.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's something that we want to look at and say, yeah, that there may be some eyes to something like that, because maybe some curiosity as to what's building, what's growing. We're not interested in scheduling the game or playing it on a Friday night for that reason, but it is one of those kind of maybe unintended consequences of us building the way that we want to try to build. Is there may be some intrigue out of something like that, or if you see capital on a score line, that maybe you do want to tune into that.
I find that's one really intriguing. I'll be watching, that's for sure. Is there a team out there that whether that you face or that you might be aware of that we're not talking about that maybe we should?
No, I think this but see, this is where I get to benefit from coming in. Some of my colleagues. Was it Joe that was maybe first off? He got thrown right into the hot seat.
Totally.
But he did a great job. He did a great job answering it.
So awesome. He is he's on my Mount Rushmore. That guy.
Yeah. The names around here in the region, again, I'm biased, so I'm always, the names around here in the region, I think are the ones that we know about. Those guys, I'm curious and I'm excited to see some of those groups that, historically and traditionally are always there, but, recently, in addition to it, that are right knocking on the door of that kind of Final Four stage. I'm really excited to see of some friends that run programs around here. Nationally, the heavy hitters are always going to be there, right? We know about New England and the NESCAC and just continuing to build. It's not even a rebuild or a recite. It's just continuing to build, which is always impressive. And those players are always going to be in the mix there. I don't think there's anyone that's not being talked about. And I think that's right. Give yourself a plug into it, is that people are talking about them. It's not hey, nobody knows about Denison. Nobody knows about Ohio Wesleyan. Nobody knows about Colorado College, Ohio Northern, right? You're talking about them. It's getting us talking about them. It's getting everybody to talk about them that has a scope into D3 men's soccer. So I'm not so sure that I could sit here and say there's someone that we're not talking about, as much as it's kind of a cool observation to see that we are talking about it.
What's it going to take? This I've never asked this one, so this is definitely your own hot seat. What's it going to take for an NCAC or an OAC, I'll lump them all together to give you the widest berth possible, to win a national championship?
Is one lucky bounce a bad answer?
No, it is totally not. It is totally not.
Anyone's going to be able to tell you, and I'm not going to. An NCAC team or an OAC team needs to continue to highlight what makes them that team. right? I don't think that we're sitting here going, the teams within this region are so far off they have to reinvent themselves. If anything, play to the strengths that you have, and it's going to continue to shine, and it's going to break through eventually. You got to get lucky.
Yeah.
You got to stay healthy. You got to stay lucky. One probably begets the other. Denison was so close. One flick of a ball, one positioning of a player. What's it going to take for an NCAC or an OAC? And flip it around, because I'd rather see an OAC than an NCAC. Don't lie. Be who you are and go be it very, very strongly, because it's coming.
Yeah. I don't think it's far off. Like I do think that, like, when you look at a recipe for going into a national champion and how do you win a national championship, I do think luck plays a big part of, like, I don't want to say luck like you were just, I don't know, it rained one day and
Sure.
so you know what I mean? Like, it's that one goal that you got that you didn't necessarily deserve during the run of play, but you got the goal. And
we've all been there, where a difference of an inch and a half, 2 inches on a goalpost makes a huge difference of in or out. Those little things that you're never going to be able to have as a tangible, luck is going to get us there. Those things are going to come, but I think those are also sometimes byproducts of doing all the things that make you successful, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something I'm really proud of being a part of both conferences in my career, is strengths of these guys. Every team in these two conferences understand the work ethic that it's going to take, understand the respect to the game that it's going to take to the opponent, and then just an appreciation of challenge and competition. Right? And I think that's just for us, kind of Midwestern, North Atlantic kind of folks. That's who we are as people. And I'd be really excited to see one of our two conferences have a program out there that puts that on display nationally for everyone to see.
You have to be good, right? Like, you have to be good, and there's so much. Who was I talking? Maybe it was Coach Bergen. I don't think enough is talked about how good the soccer in Ohio actually is, right? Like, there's a lot of great soccer that gets played, and that percolates up, and you see them, and they, like, it's not. It used to be like, oh, Ohio Wesleyan was the, and then you'd have to drive out to Chicago or out to the east to find more teams. But now, so much good soccer that gets played, and it only gets better.
Gets better. And that's an entirely different conversation. But as communities in suburbs outside of Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, as some of those more rural areas continue to develop, you're starting to find even more. There's always soccer players everywhere here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there are in other states, but again, just being biased of being here.
Yeah.
You can find kids in southeastern Ohio that just are not known. Now those it's getting more difficult because everyone's able to find those kids now. You used to be able to kind of to hide them away a little bit, and if someone didn't know someone from a more rural area, then there's your in. But now we all know those areas. Now we all know how to cast the net for it. So it's continuing to make jobs more difficult, which is fun. I'll sit and say it. I think we've done a good job of being able to branch out into some different areas of the country to really kind of utilize an international package here at Capital. That's I think going to benefit us. But I'll still say that within Ohio, within the 270 outer belt, that's where a lot of the kids that are going to really build this program, a lot of the kids that are going to be very successful in it, are going to come from, because they can play.
Yeah. How much of an impact? I mean, we talked a little bit about it with the transfers, but more broadly, how much do you see Division Three being impacted by what is going on in Division One and all the not only all the changes, but some of the talk about aligning conferences to with U.S. soccer and all that kind of nonsense. It's not nonsense, but you know what I mean. Like just a
Yeah.
lot of talk. Like how much downstream impact do you think that's going to have on you, on capital, on soccer in general in Division Three?
Yeah, I think that the obvious like roster limits and the reaction to some of those things that happened over the last couple of months have already seen trickle down. Right, we've talked about some of the kids that have come home.
Yeah,
Those are impacts, right, of just the changing landscape at that level. Necessitated a change, and we were the beneficiary of it. Um, Aligning playing seasons, changing around to be more in a little bit more of a mode of U.S. soccer or to have aligning principles. Do I think there's going to be a trickle down? I mean, I think, of course, because we all play the same game. That is, I'm pausing because I'm stupidly thinking about how I want to say this one. We're all playing the same game, and there's going to be grounds on all divisions and all levels that are going to see its differences. And are there going to be impacts at one that might make sense for another? Or are there unintended consequences? Does a decision get made in Division 1 that impacts Division 2, Division 3, NAIA? Those are going to be there. I don't know where they're going to take us, but I think they're going to put us in situations where, as long as we're continuing to be adaptable, be flexible, that the impact is going to be minimal because we understand how we can navigate. That's probably just a rambling
no, that's fair.
nonsense.
That's why I'm asking.
I think for us, it's less about being reactionary as much as we can, which is difficult, right? Because we're lower down into it. You've got someone like Brandon who's so plugged into the committees and what's happening. Not all of us are that way, obviously, or of being in tuned into kind of what changes are coming or what's being discussed. But as little we can to react and as much as we can to be proactive, so no matter what the change is, it minimizes drastically what we do. We're not too concerned with what's coming. Like you said, we're in a great location. Columbus, the Bexley area, right here. We've got great academic programs and structure and support in here that's going to be able to make sure that from an athletic standpoint, the changes that are made are something that we're able to adapt to.
Yeah. I don't. To me, it's not what we're expecting. I guess to your point about not being reactive, it's not the things that we know are happening. It's the things and the unintended consequences of it all, right? Like, I suspect, and I've been saying, and I just because of the economics of it all, I suspect that you might see a number of schools drop down to Division 2, Division 3 athletics just because financially they just cannot either compete or they don't want to compete this way.
And you just think of the trickle down effect in large scale things and in small scale things, right? Use St. Francis as an example, right? And that's a good one, right? St. Francis moves from a D1 to a D3. They're going to move into the PAC. Yeah. We've got some PAC schools scheduled for 25, 26. That, I mean, you're honestly like hitting me right in the head of like, oh yeah, I got a great example of literally just happened within the last 2 weeks of with St. Francis moving in, a PAC school that we had scheduled for 26 changes because their conference schedule changes. Yeah. Right. So now where we thought we had, all right, we pretty much have our 2026 schedule kind of completed. Well, now I don't because a team moving from D1 to D3 is caused a little bit of a wrench in things. Right. So it's okay. How do you quickly pivot and move on from there? But no, you're right. There's going to continue to be those things that we might not be thinking about right now. It changes conference of the line, and it changes logistics of things. I don't like thinking about it, but school's closing altogether, right? And
Yeah. I
that
mean that
changes
too. That too.
everything. But I guess Joe did it a little bit longer, but I also come from a bit of a corporate background, and
Mm-hmm.
these things happen
Yeah.
all the time in unexpected ways, and it's how you respond,
Yeah.
it's how you plan. That's why my wife yells at me. I am in this office way too many hours during the summer, and my only excuse back to her is, yes, but if this happens, now I'm totally prepared with like 4 doomsday scenarios. So we're fine. No, there's no problem here.
There's no problem. That's
Uh,
awesome.
I'm an overthinker. I'm the world's laziest control freak, but I've got to
Yeah.
understand if something's going to
Yeah.
impact us, if something's going to impact this group. One, our mindset has to be cool. So what? And
Yeah.
two, it has to be how quickly do we find a solution so that we can get
Yeah.
back to status quo, homeostasis, whatever you want to say, back to our balance of we are in our group. Everything else outside is just noise and does not matter.
Yeah. We control what we can control.
Yep.
And this is what we can
That's
control. Yeah.
that is a big thing that this group has done a tremendous job of doing, and half of it is me getting out of the way and realizing they have a lot more control than I do in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And how do we harness that? How do we manage that? And ultimately, it's like you said, you control what you can control, but if anything, it's for us more of just that kind of competitors just shrugging your shoulder, just all right, that's just one more thing. Let's go.
Yeah. What concerns you more? Keeping your goals against low or scoring goals? What's concerning you more right now? Damn, did I just drop that bomb?
It was a good one. Yeah. But you got me, dude. I even went through and I went through and looked at all the stats. I'll go off the board. I'd like us to see a few more yellow cards given to us. I don't think we're playing. I looked at that today.
What? I'm laughing because I'm like, yeah, sometimes you got to do that.
But as a referee, you're probably looking at me like, no, Cory, don't. What are you talking? I'd like us to in the right ways, maybe see a few more yellows because we're putting ourselves into games. What concerns me more of the two? We got to score more goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we're going to have a strong foundation defensively that's going to be able to keep us in games again. So young across the back last year that everybody that has gained experience is going to play a large role. I'm less concerned about because the defense is just it's defensive principles are about being connected. It's about the discipline. It's about understanding the space of things. That's the controllable that I think we've got a good tune in, and I'm less concerned. The other side of it, how do you score more goals? How do you get more output? How do you be more creative? That's the one that's concerning me a little bit more, right? And
it's the harder of the two.
Obviously, right? Yeah. But then beyond that, it's how. It's systems, it's tactics. It's not just here's a ball and please score goals. We think that we're poised with the years' experience of guys that are returning and some of the pieces that we're able to add that are going to be here with us in the fall are going to make an impact right away on that half of the field. If we can score more goals than the opponent, I'm less concerned if we give up a few more goals than we did last year. But of the two, I was a defender my entire life. I was a left back until they decided he's a little out of shape, make him a center back. I'm more excited in scoring. Like I don't want to sit there because I was a defender. I just want to shut out every. I want to go score 4 or 5 goals a game, right? So a lot of my coaching has been, or a lot of my kind of homework or education into coaching or sharpening skills in the last couple of months has really been in those aspects of the game. To ultimately just put these guys in the right spots to hopefully see an increased production.
I tell my simple players all the time, what is soccer? Soccer is a game of goals. Like when you boil it all down, the number one principle is the first thing you want to do as a player is score a goal. Like that's it. Like that's your objective, and everything flows from there. And,
we're gonna have some fun with these guys. It's a smart group of guys, and I like a lot of influences and similarities of soccer and basketball, right? And I've really been drawn to watching a lot of basketball lately, of just pushing the pace and right. Think about basketball, right? If you end an offensive possession with a shot, you're probably going to put yourself in chances to succeed. Yeah. How do we translate something like that into a game of soccer where maybe we're not focused on putting together 25, 30 passes just for the sake of putting together 25, 30 passes? Maybe we're looking to go forward with the end goal of, can we get a shot each time we go forward?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's not realistic, right? You're not putting up 80, 120 shots like you are in a basketball game, but there's similarities to something like that I think we really want to explore with this group is pushing the pace, is getting forward, is creating more opportunities.
Yeah. I always say team handball is the model. Handball, the way they attack, there's something about the way they attack to ensure that they can get a free shot. Like they can angle themselves for the shot every time they have possession. Is if there's a way to bottle that up and make it into soccer.
And it's a cool game, and it's indoors. Man, I don't know about you right now. It feels like it's about 110 degrees. I don't even want to think about going outside.
Yeah.
And it just makes me realize every single day, like, handball, volleyball, basketball.
You could have picked one of those.
I could have picked any one of those sports where I could be inside. Man, I picked the wrong. I got to call my mom and say, "Why'd you do this to me at 5? You couldn't have told like basketball or hey man, like
I have
be a squash player." I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Hey, I got one last question for you. I've been asking. And then I'll let you go on with your day. There is no, I'm not defining what soccer is. So what aren't we talking about in soccer that we should be? And I know you think about these things, so I was kind of excited to ask you this final question.
What aren't we talking about in soccer that we should be? Seems like there's a whole lot of stuff going on with the U.S. national team. That would probably be a good way for me to steer clear of a million things. I'm blown away by how weird, and I think this is getting talked about, so it's not a great answer, but I'm blown away by how weird the club structure is getting. Mm-hmm. Of all the platforms, of all the development pathways, it's just getting very confusing. And I say that from someone who lived it, right? Yeah. As a coach in some of these, it's just getting to be the point to me where I don't know what's happening. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that's kind of getting lost is why are we doing this? And I don't mean the coaching or the other, it's why are we making things more complex than what they seem to need to be? I'm a dumb guy. I won't say I'm a simple guy. That's your branding. I'm not the brightest guy in the world. I like things to be very efficient. I like things to make sense.
Yeah.
What we're doing for young kids doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. In good way. I don't even know where I'm trying to explore with this.
I know exactly what you're doing this to ingratiate yourself with me because I'm right there with you. I've been asking for a long time now, like, what's the point? And I don't mean like, hey, having kids play and all that stuff. To me, it's like, what's the point? What are we trying to accomplish with all these different clubs and all the different things and what you can do and where you can travel to? Like, I'm just kind of like, I'm lost, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
I think we all know the very obvious answer to why these things continue to build and why these things continue to get convoluted. It's just the older I get, and now I've got a couple of kids who are getting into youth sports, and so you start to it's bad. It's getting bad for me now, simple coach, in the sense that I go to my kids' athletic events and I have the same kind of critical eye that I have with club soccer and
Yeah.
youth swimming,
Yeah.
youth cheer and gymnastics and things like that is looking at it in the same lens that I look at it as youth soccer now. As is this are these still teaching the same kind of lessons and development, all the types of things for kids? If it is, then great.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's not so much that excuse me, that we're losing sight of that. It just seems like we're making that harder.
Yeah.
And I'd really like us to try to find ways within the way we're going things to keep that in focus. Just make it simple for kids to have fun. Make it simple for kids to reach their goals.
Yeah.
If the other extra stuff is just part of life and that's what it has to be now, then so be it. But there's got to be a better blend. There's got to be a better way.
I keep thinking we're getting farther away from the sport because of all of that than we are getting closer to it, right? Whatever our objective is, we're getting farther away, not closer to it. We're not, if our idea is to develop players, I'm not sure we're developing players. Like, right?
I fully hey, there's things like words like exposure and things like that are huge, and I don't want to downplay them. The opportunities for these kids to be seen, to be heard, are so much different than even I did, close to 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I love those opportunities for them, and I love that exposure. I love everything that it gives to them. But I think you're right. I think that we've shifted priority to things like the exposure, the marketing, the platforms themselves. This isn't knocks on leagues, but the structures themselves, as opposed to the biggest piece that's always going to be within them is the kids that are playing.
Yeah. I always said I would, if I wasn't doing 50 other different things, including this channel, one of the things I would want to do is start an anti-club. So a soccer club where, right, the only requirements to be on the team is our colors are gray, so you can wear a gray t-shirt and black shorts and black socks. And then we're just going to play within an hour radius, and we're just going to, that's it. We're not going to travel. This is so that you can play and become a better player and all these things. If you have aspirations, all that stuff. But because I think it has gotten beyond that, right? It's gotten beyond the round ball in the 90 minutes. It's gotten so beyond that. I don't understand it, which is why I ask guys like you. I don't understand it. I understand why, right? Like,
I think
financial incentive, right? Like, I get that, but purpose. I don't know what the purpose is.
There's so many people involved in our game, in so many different levels, and so many different avenues. It just becomes really easy to get lost, and I'm staring off into the distance because I'm trying to think back ways of. This is what really excites me about this break now is because I know there's the anticipation of these college guys, and that's where I'm really excited in having these guys is that it's not it's a structure that we control. That they have input and they have control, and it's just different. There's an excitement to this group. There's an excitement to
there's purpose. Like, let's be clear, there is purpose, right? They are coming in, they're representing their university with pride, working to be better, and competing within a known universe, like they know, exactly what's going to happen, exactly what's going to be done, it's exactly expected of them. And I think that's why I say a lot about Division III is because I think in every school you have that opportunity with guys, including with, Capital and your players, right? I just think it's I think there's something to this model that gets overlooked, and I tried. That's why I tried to highlight it. Anyhow, we went down a
Nope, down a tangent, but I can't let you say that without kind of echoing it. And that for the longest time, I thought, climbing a career ladder meant divisions as well. I'm very happy being a D3 soccer coach because of the life that it gives me and the challenge that it gives. And I couldn't be happier about this situation and this structure that it gives us.
Yeah. And we can always tweak the edges, right?
Hey, it's just the opportunity to be in it, to talk about it, to influence it.
Yeah.
I love being a D3 soccer coach.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I like talking to D3 soccer coaches. So
you do a great job of it.
I do appreciate you taking the time again. I wish you the best. I do. I'll be cheering you guys on, kind of, sort of, in a roundabout way. Just don't tell my fellow Purple Raiders that I'm doing so.
Nope, I won't tell Krems. Just cut this off about 45 seconds, 60 seconds off from where we are.
I hate you guys. You guys are terrible.
Yep. If you need some more B-roll footage in there, we can make sure that that's known. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's just talk crap about each other. No. All right, Coach. Thank you. Wish you all the best. Enjoy whatever you got of the summer. Hopefully, you get some time away with the kiddos.
Same to you. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks for all you do, and looking forward to seeing some more.
All right. Yep. All right.